All right, thanks, guys. Cleveland's at Boston. Game 2, ECF, 8:30 Eastern tip-off. The Celtics are the 1-point favorites in this one with the total at 203.5. Currently, Boston's laying $1.10 on the money line. And at the moment, just 46% of the betting public is backing the Cavs. So look for them to possibly catch another half a point or so by tip-off if that trend continues. And before we get into those trends, let's just go ahead and take a quick look at the early line movement in this one. And we've had a little bit of it. We're seeing a good amount of movement in the early going here. And as a matter of fact, we saw ourselves a good old-fashioned flip of the lines in this one. Boston opened up the betting as the 1-point underdog on the spread with the total at 202 and a hook. And since those markets opened this one up, we've seen a steady and consistent fade of the Cavaliers in the early going here. And when it comes to the total, we saw that line get driven upward a whole point. This one opened 202.5, now 203.5. Now, your money line odds didn't change much. This one is pretty much an even money game to pick a winner. A little bit of juice you're going to have to pay. You're probably looking at $1.10 lay if you're leaning on either side. And obviously, 54% of the public bettors like the Celtics, so look for those books to possibly tack on another half a point or so by tip-off if that trend continues. And speaking of the trends, let's dive into them. Let's get into them. It looks like they're heavily favoring these Boston Celtics, who's up 1-0, 1-0 in the series. And they're 3-1 ATS in their head-to-head matchups with Cleveland. This Boston squad has also done an excellent job covering against winning ball clubs, posting a remarkable record of 29-9 ATS versus teams over 500. Now, total-wise, 3 out of Boston's last 4 stayed under the line. Meanwhile, on the other side, similar story for the Cavs as their games went 2-1 to the under in their last 3 themselves. Having said all that, though, we're seeing steady and consistent over money come pouring in on the handle from the public bettors. Plus, I whiffed miserably on the total in Game 1 of this very series. So when it comes to the scoring in this one, I'm going to forego a play on the total. And when it comes to picking sides, I know I made a clear-cut case for Boston, but they are facing a Cleveland squad who's covering 70% of their ball games as the official road underdog. Really tough to cover against these guys when they're catching points. So all told, I'm actually going to go ahead and take a free pass on this game, although I do have a flyer on the Cavaliers and the Warriors both winning their respective series, and a nice little parlay for some slight plus money. I think I'm a plus 105 in that one. All right, let's go ahead and slide into our next game. We're going to go into the into Major League Baseball. Let me go ahead and cue that up here, and there it is. All right, I'm talking about Yankees at Washington, 7:05 East in the nation's capital. The Yankees are the $1.30 favorites on the money line with the total at 8.5. Currently, the Nats get the 1.5 on the run line. And at the moment, just 43% of the betting public is backing the Nationals. So look for them to catch another couple of cents before first pitch if that trend continues. And speaking of first pitch, we've got Tanaka for the Yanks, Gio Gonzalez for the Nats. And before we get into the trends in this one, let's just go ahead and take a quick look at the early line movement. And when it comes to that early line movement, the Yankees open the betting as the $1.20 favorites with the total at an even 8 runs. And since those markets opened this one up, no real surprises here, nothing real shocking, as the Yankees took most of that early money, most of that early action. And like I stated before, the Yankees are the $1.30 favorites on the money line, a 10-cent move upward in favor of the Bronx Bombers. And when it comes to the total in this one opened up at 8 flat and is now perched at 8.5 runs. And at the moment, a solid 57% of the public bettors are backing the Yankees in this matchup here. So look for their money line equity to decrease if that trend continues, and I think it will. And speaking of the trends, they really seem to favor this red-hot National squad. 4-0 in their last 4. 7-1 in their last 8, 13-2 in their last 15 ball games. Washington's also a remarkable 7-1 in their last 8 ball games played at Nationals Park. Now, scoring-wise, 3 out of Washington's last 4 stayed under the posted total. That said, though, we're actually seeing a completely different story on the Yankee side of things as their games went 2-1 to the over in their last 3 themselves. So with those conflicting variables in mind, no play on a total here for me, but when it comes to the sides, I'm really liking this Washington squad who's not only 16-9 versus winning ball clubs, they're also catching plus money at home in the middle of a scorching hot run. So all told, I'm going to lean toward the Washington Nats plus $1.10, winning this one outright for some money line cash. All right, let's